Hello everybody, it's Sunday. How's everybody doing? How's your weekend going? Everybody staying safe? I hope so. So, seeing as it's Sunday, I thought we'd do another session of Lying for Jesus. That's right. That's for all those self-proclaimed Christians out there. Want to tear apart everybody else that don't look like them, act like them, or pray like them. But as soon as that church door hits them where the good Lord splits them, they commence to doing all kinds of nasty stuff. I'm just saying. So anyway, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Like me, love me, share me. My hangers on. Thanks for hanging on. Our Prime Minister right now is over at the inaugural Mass in Rome right now, making all kinds of connections and shoring up some deals for us folks here in Canada. Can't be dependent on one person. That's just not a good thing, right? So anyway, let's get into this, and don't forget to subscribe. So let's start with, Pam, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. In other words, stop lying. Stop lying. Pam Bondi, you have not lived up to your obligations to serve the people of America. You just haven't. As soon as you started gaining publicity, you became more interested in serving the cameras and the bright lights more than you did the people of the United States. You served the camera and Fox News, especially Sean Hannity. And not so much did you care for the day-to-day mundane of actually working. And being Florida's first female attorney general, you didn't get off to a very good start because you took over from a fellow that actually did work. One headline read, on November 11th, Pam Bondi spends more time perfecting her tan as foreclosure rates soar. It seems that she spent more time sunbathing and boating and commuting back and forth to her home than at the office. Indian River County foreclosure rates soared to nearly 150% from the time she took office, January 4th, 2011. It appears that just in Indian River County alone, in February, 50 homes were taken back by banks, and in August, 121 final judgment on homes. The numbers just kept soaring after that through September and October. More than 100 homes had been foreclosed during that time, and there was like a scheme where all these lawyers would get together and they'd finagle some paperwork to try and take people's homes away from them. And what happened was the former AG, Bill McCollum, launched an investigation into 8 law firms that handle foreclosures. And he stated thousands of final judgments of foreclosures against Florida homeowners may have been the result of improper actions of the 8 law firms, because many mortgages have been bought and sold to different institutions several times. Key paperwork involved in those processes, wait for it, and judgments were often missing. Or, on many other occasions, fabricated documents have been presented to courts to obtain final judgment. Turns out it was a nationwide scam. One law office of David J. Stern had more than 100,000 foreclosures in his pipeline just in the fall of 2010. And that's why the former AG was going after these guys. Then Bad Pam takes over January 4th, 2011, and she says she's going after bad actors. But lawmakers and different consumer groups beg to differ. 2 state lawyers who led the foreclosure fraud investigations under McCollum were forced to resign. These 2 ladies, June Clarkson and Teresa Edwards, were known to be the kind of lawyers you want when you get into a pickle. They were aggressive and they took effective action against shady foreclosure lawyers, and they won a $2 million settlement from one attorney, Marshall C. Watson, and his firm. According to the Miami Herald, the Jackson-based Leader Processing Services, one of the firms being investigated, donated $36,000 to Pam Bondi's campaign for AG. Think that's why. So it stinks to high heavens that she fired two amazing lawyers that actually did their jobs without favors to Pam's money machine. It just gets a little fishy, doesn't it? These women are doing their job and out there making money for the firm too, right? Bringing that tax dollars in. And here's another little rub. The state Senate president, Mike Herodopoulos, and the House Speaker, Dean Cannon, said that they were considering legislation to change Florida law so no judges will have to referee foreclosures. How convenient for them, right? It would speed up the process. And oh, we are not done yet. Oh, liar, liar, little pants on fire, for lack of better words. I had a few, but I was afraid to spit them out. In 2013, she asked then Governor Rick Scott to postpone an execution. Why? Because it would interfere with her fundraising event. She opposed medical marijuana. She would rather vets and injured sports figures and stuff, instead of doing a couple hits marijuana, she would rather on OxyContin and all those things. That's my guess. She was associated with Scientology because their big headquarters is in Florida, right? Because they raised a shit ton of money for both her first and second seasons. In 2018, she joined 19 other Republican states to overturn the ACA because she thought health insurance companies should be charging people with pre-existing conditions with higher premiums, or just deny them coverage altogether. Because, you know, Rick Scott had the biggest judgment against him, $750 million at the time, for scamming Medicare, Medicaid. Yeah, that's a good story too. She defended the amendment to the Florida Constitution banning same-sex marriage, but that didn't work out so good because they didn't reflect her views. So after the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, Anderson Cooper interviewed her and she said, "Oh, and I support the LGBTQ community as long as the lights and the cameras were on." Where she always wants to be, apparently, while being AG, took a side job as a co-host on The Five on Fox. 3 days a week she appeared, and on camera, on set, with Sean Hannity. Aren't they in New York? So she had to keep flying out of her state to go up there and appear on those shows, so that's taxpayer dollars gone down the toilet. Pam said the Florida Commission on Ethics had approved it, but a spokeswoman for the commission denied that and said there was no ruling made. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden she wasn't co-hosting on The Five. It's funny how that works, right? So now we get to 2013. Bondi's office received 22 fraud complaints against Trump University. Now, she was going after him because he was a bad guy to her then. And she joined a lawsuit initiated by Eric Schneiderman, the AG in New York, regarding the fraud and the potential charges that would come against Trump. But wouldn't you know it, just 4 days later, to support her re-election, she received $25,000 from Donald J. Trump. And all of a sudden, she dropped out of the lawsuit. 22 charges, poof, don't know where they went. When it came to court in 2016, just before he was elected, Trump said the donation was made in error, because of course it was. And I'm surprised he didn't even know her. And it was supposed to go to a Kansas City nonprofit, totally unrelated to Bondi. She solicited that $25,000 from him herself, allegedly. No, she did. In my heart of hearts, she did. On May 14th, 2016, Bondi endorsed Trump. How convenient. That's what $25,000 gets you. And then she says, we've been friends for years. The IRS apparently didn't think that was very good and determined that the donation violated laws against political contributions from nonprofit organization, which Trump organization was apparently, doesn't have one anymore, not allowed to run one for the rest of his life, and ordered Trump to pay up and reimburse the foundation the $25,000. Did Pam have to give it back to him? I would have, but that's not her. She was paid as a foreign lobbyist. We've already gone through this, right? For Qatar, $115,000 a month. Susie Wiles, and the chief of staff in the White House, also worked at the Qatari embassy. I don't know what she was doing for them, but come in handy this trip, didn't it? Pammy was a consultant for Renatus Advisors, LLC of Puerto Rico, and declared this on her financials that she had to hand into the Senate and stuff at her hearing. Now, she had shares and stock warrants in Digital World Acquisition Corp. Now, it's called a SPAC, and that means when they have people in this thing and they're planning a merger type thing, nobody else is supposed to know about it by law, because that way you would influence different people, right? Yeah. Well, wouldn't you know it? She also had stock in Trump Media and Technology. Wow. She must be a soothsayer or something. The group merged. There was a bunch of back and forth with the courts and all that stuff because they were saying that things were out of whack, didn't line up. But finally, they got their wish. So the two companies merged. And I think I know that she knew about all of this, considering she was the consultant for the company that was handling the World Acquisition Corp, ADWAC, and they finally did merge with Trump Technology. So her consulting fee netted her $2,695,563, allegedly. Pretty perfect numbers for alleged, right? Her first day as USAG, she made sure that shit wasn't going to go any further. She shut down the FBI Foreign Influence Task Force. And that is why she's saying that Trump taking that Qatari 747 is permissible, because she shut down that whole task force that would have Qatari gaining influence with the United States president. That's why Pam says Donning can keep it. And she also cut back on Foreign Agents Registration Acts, because that's what she was. She would rather be able to go under the table to do that in more ways than I can even think of counting. But anyway, and she makes a lot of her decisions with Voldemort. Well, I said his name. He appears often enough anyway. Stephen Miller. How can he's not a lawyer. How can he speak off about stuff like that? He's not a lawyer, but he does play one on Fox because he has his friggin' things that he goes off on. Oh, and we're going to file these charges. You can't file shit. You're not a lawyer. You can't file shit. The fentanyl roller coaster began in April. And she said fentanyl seizures in the first 100 days of Trump's existence as president this season saved 21 million lives. That's a good thing, right? But 2 days later, she said the seizure saved 119 million lives. That's a little bit of a stretch, if you ask me. And then 2 days after that, and that's when she looked at, are you ready, media? These seizures saved 258 million lives. Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging on the telephone wire. That would mean that 75% of the total population of the United States of America is doing drugs laced with fentanyl. Because where else would they get all those people dead from? So you only got half the population now, apparently, according to her. USA was up to some pretty shady shit since she came along. Well, since they all got on board. Oh, and last but not least, just this month, the United States of America's Attorney General Pam Bondi sold between $3 and $5.5 million worth of shares in Trump Media because it tanked the very day he rolled out Liberation Day. and she made herself a hockey sock full of millions and millions and millions, probably $1 billion, because she has an inside track. Just saying. 9 Nan loves you. Be good, be safe. Please take care of you first. Cheers, dears. So, all my hangers on, thanks for hanging on. Newcomers, welcome. Like I said, love me, like me, share me, and don't forget to subscribe. We're getting up there, aren't we? We're doing good. Anyway, I love you all. Take care of you. Mwah.